There comes a time when silence feels heavier than words, when the weight of secrets no longer settles in shadows but claws at the very light within you. This is that time, and this is your story. Not the one written by their lies, but the one forged by your truth. You didn't stumble upon this moment by accident. No, life doesn't work that way. You're here because deep down, you've always known there's more to you than the whispered deceptions they used to control you. They're secrets. They carried them like treasures, guarded behind smirks and masks, thinking the darkness would keep them safe. But what they didn't account for was you. They underestimated the power of a voice unleashed, the ripple effect of one soul refusing to remain caged. They never imagined the day you'd see through their illusions, the day you'd choose to speak. And here you are, on the cusp of turning their carefully crafted facade into rubble. Truth has always been a strange and volatile force, hasn't it? It hides, sometimes willingly, sometimes forced into corners by fear and manipulation. But it's never truly gone. It waits, patient and eternal, like a seed buried in frozen earth, longing for the moment when it's given light and room to grow. That moment, your moment, is now. You are the keeper of a truth they tried to silence. They thought their lies could bury it forever, but they forgot that even the smallest spark can set the whole forest ablaze. The truth, they feared it because it threatened to unmake them. If the fate is the earth, murder means the end of the earth. And the truth, they fear it because it threatened to unmake them. To you, it feels like a burden, doesn't it? A heavy, aching thing that presses against your chest. But listen closely. That weight isn't your enemy. It's your power. It's the fire waiting to be unleashed. The weapon they handed you in their arrogance. Every lie they told, every secret they hid, every manipulation they crafted. It wasn't just for their survival. It was because they knew the truth could destroy them. And worse, it could set you free. And freedom, that's what this is about, isn't it? It's not about revenge, though the thought has crossed your mind. It's not even about proving them wrong, though the idea is tempting. No, this is about liberation. Yours, theirs. The kind of freedom that doesn't just loosen chains, but melts them down entirely, reforging them into something new, something unbreakable. This moment you've been avoiding, this reckoning, it's not just another chapter. It's the beginning of a new story, one where their secrets crumble under the weight of your courage, one where your voice, trembling as it may be, becomes a roar. And with that roar comes the truth, unyielding and undeniable. Shaka. So stand firm. This is your wake-up call. This is your turning point. They never expected you to rise, but here you are, ready to shatter the silence and remind the world of a simple, unstoppable truth. Their secrets were always their downfall, and now your truth will set you free. Stop right there. Yes, you. Don't look around. Don't pretend this isn't for you. Because if you're here, then it means something inside you is stirring, doesn't it? Something restless, something raw, like a scream you've been swallowing for far too long. You've carried it, haven't you? That weight, that nagging voice whispering this isn't how it's supposed to be. But let me ask you something. What happens when the lies you believed no longer bind you? What happens when the mask you've worn for their comfort finally cracks? What happens when you stand in front of the mirror and see not what they told you to see, but the unfiltered, unvarnished, unapologetic truth? I'll tell you what happens. The world shifts. The ground beneath your feet stops feeling like a trap and starts feeling like a foundation. But first you have to wake up. Yes, I said wake up. Because let's be honest, you've been sleeping. Not the kind of sleep that rests your body, but the kind that numbs your soul. They lulled you into that state, didn't they? With their stories, their control, their subtle manipulations that made you question what you knew, what you felt, and who you were. And here's the cruel joke. They wanted you to stay asleep. Because the moment you wake, the moment you see through their carefully crafted web of deception, you become dangerous. You become unstoppable, and that terrifies them. Here's the truth you need to hear. They thrived on your silence. Your doubt, your hesitation, your refusal to question, that was their lifeline. Every lie they spun, every secret they buried, wasn't just about protecting themselves, it was about keeping you small, keeping you tame. Because they know something you've only begun to understand. The truth doesn't just set you free, it changes everything. And when you speak it, when you unleash it, it has the power to shatter everything they built on lies. So why haven't you spoken yet? Why are you still holding back? Is it fear, shame? Or is it that voice in your head telling you it's not worth the fight? You guys ready? I know that voice. We all do. It's the voice they planted like a parasite, feeding on your doubts. It whispers to you in the dark, doesn't it? What if you're wrong? What if they're right? What if no one believes you? But let me tell you something about that voice. It's lying, just like they were. And the only way to silence it is to confront it with the truth. The truth is your weapon, your shield, your compass. It's the one thing they can't take from you. They can twist it, bury it, deny it, but they can't erase it. And when you finally decide to wield it, it will slice through their illusions like a blade. Do you understand what that means? It means you hold the power, not them, not their lies, you. So, let me ask you again, what happens when the lies you believe no longer bind you? What happens when the cage they built around you becomes nothing more than a pile of broken bars? Do you stay there, huddled in the corner, afraid to move, or do you step into the light, into the open air, into the life you were always meant to claim? This isn't just about survival. No. Surviving is what you've been doing, and let's be honest, it's exhausting. You weren't made to survive. You were made to thrive, to stand tall, to speak loudly, to reclaim everything they told you was out of reach. And here's the beauty of it. The moment you step into your truth, you don't just free yourself. You free everyone who has ever been chained by the same lies. You become the proof that it's possible, the evidence that the darkness doesn't win, that silence doesn't prevail. But I know what you're thinking. I know the excuses you're already crafting in your mind. It's not the right time. What if it doesn't change anything? What if I make things worse? Let me stop you right there. Because here's the thing. There will never be a perfect time. The stars will never align in some magical formation to tell you, now is your moment. Your moment is now because it's the only one you have. And as for making things worse, how much worse could it be than living a life dictated by their lies? You see, they want you to believe that speaking your truth is dangerous, that it will break you, that it will leave you alone, vulnerable, exposed. But what they don't want you to realize is that you're already broken in places you shouldn't be. You're already vulnerable, but not because of your truth, because of their lies. And here's the most important thing they'll never admit. The truth doesn't leave you exposed. It makes you untouchable. Because when you stand in your truth, when you embrace it fully, there is nothing left for them to take. You've already reclaimed it all. So here's what you need to understand right now. This moment is not just a crossroads. It's a reckoning. It's the point where you decide whether to keep living in the shadow of their secrets or step into the light of your truth. You can't have both. You can't keep holding on to the comfort of silence while yearning for the liberation of authenticity. You have to choose. And let me tell you, choosing truth is not for the faint of heart. It will demand everything from you, but it will give you more than you ever imagined in return. The time for waiting is over. The time for excuses is gone. This is your wake-up call. Their secrets only hold power as long as you stay silent. But the moment you speak, you turn their power into dust. And what remains is you, whole, unapologetic, free. So I'll ask you one last time, what happens when the lies you believe no longer bind you? Are you ready to find out? Because the truth is waiting. And it's not just going to set you free, it's going to change everything. The question is, will you rise to meet it? You carried their secrets like chains, didn't you? Heavy, cold, clinking with every step you took. Each one a shackle around your soul, forging a cage you never agreed to inhabit. At first, you barely noticed them. The lies were whispered so softly, the betrayal so subtle, the manipulation so expertly cloaked as care. But over time, they piled up, one link at a time, until you could barely move without feeling their weight. Let's talk about that weight. Let's name it for what it is. It's the isolation of feeling unseen, even when surrounded by people. It's the fear of speaking up because somewhere along the way you were taught that your voice didn't matter, or worse, that it would bring consequences too dire to bear. It's the betrayal of trusting someone with your heart, your dreams, your vulnerabilities, only to have them twist those things into weapons against you. You've been there. You felt the sting of their words, the sting that lingered long after the echoes faded. You're not good enough, they said. You're too much. You'll never make it without me. They told you these things, and at first, you resisted, didn't you? You tried to remind yourself of who you were, of what you were worth. But over time, their voices became louder than your own, and one day you woke up and realized you'd started believing them. That's how it happens. That's how they do it. Slowly, methodically. They plant seeds of doubt in the fertile soil of your fears and insecurities, and before you know it, those seeds have grown into a tangled web of self-doubt, choking out your confidence and hope. They made you believe their lies were your truth, because the truth was their undoing. Let's make no mistake about who they are, the villains in your story. Maybe it was a person, a parent who couldn't see beyond their own pain, a partner who saw your light and felt threatened, a friend who betrayed you for their own gain. Maybe it wasn't a person at all, but something bigger. Societal expectations that told you who you should be, fear that whispered you'd never be enough, or even the shadow of your own past mistakes. Whoever or whatever it was, their power didn't come from strength. It came from your silence, your hesitation, your decision to shrink yourself so you wouldn't make waves. That's how they kept you small, by convincing you that their approval mattered more than your truth. They fed off your need to please, your fear of rejection, your desperate hope that if you just did everything right, maybe, just maybe, they'd finally see you, love you, accept you. But they didn't, did they? No matter how much you gave, it was never enough. And every time you fell short of their impossible standards, they used it as proof that you were the problem. Not them, never them. Because if you started to question their narrative, if you started to see through their lies, the entire illusion would collapse. And that was a risk they couldn't afford to take. So they kept you in line with cycles of silence and self-doubt. They'd tear you down, and just when you were on the verge of breaking, they'd throw you a crumb of validation, a kind word, a gesture that made you think, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they do care. And you'd stay. You'd stay because that crumb felt like hope, but it wasn't hope. It was control. Let's talk about those cycles. You know them well, don't you? The way they make you second-guess yourself, even when your instincts are screaming. The way they twist your words, your actions, your feelings, until you can't tell what's real anymore. The way they make you feel like you're walking on eggshells, afraid that one wrong move will shatter everything. But here's the thing about cycles. They're designed to keep you spinning in place. And while you're spinning, you don't have time to look up, to see the bigger picture, to realize that you don't have to stay on this wheel. They know this, they count on it, because the moment you stop, the moment you step off, is the moment their power begins to crumble. Think back to the first time you noticed something was wrong. It was a small thing, wasn't it? A flicker of unease, a nagging feeling that something didn't add up. But you ignored it, didn't you? You told yourself you were overreacting, being dramatic, too sensitive. After all, that's what they told you, and they were so convincing, weren't they? They made you question your own reality, your own feelings, your own worth. And so you stayed. You stayed in the shadows of their lies, hoping that one day they'd change, that one day they'd see the real you. But let me ask you something. How can someone see the real you when they've spent so much time trying to erase it? How can someone love you for who you are when their entire strategy depends on you being someone else? It's time to face the truth. The villains in your story, whether they're people, expectations, or fears, they were never stronger than you. They were just better at convincing you that they were. They played on your kindness, your hope, your willingness to give them the benefit of the doubt. And in doing so, they made you their prisoner. But here's the thing, prisoners don't stay locked up forever. Whereas the character consoled his own death by thinking of the true stories that hold the key to his heart, he's now putting himself in a situation he can't bear to handle and can't stop. And no matter how many chains they wrapped around you, they forgot one critical detail. The key was always in your hands. Their secrets, their lies, their manipulations, they are not your truth. They never were. And the moment you decide to speak, to step out of the shadows, to reclaim your voice, is the moment their power begins to dissolve, because their strength was never real. It was an illusion, and illusions only last as long as you believe in them. So here you are, standing at the edge of a choice. Do you stay in the cycle they created, spinning endlessly in silence and doubt? Or do you step off the wheel, break the chains, and remind them and yourself that you were never meant to carry their weight? Their secrets were their own undoing. And now, it's time for your truth to set you free. It's exhausting, isn't it? Waking up every day, carrying the same weight, dragging it behind you like a shadow that refuses to let go. Where you've tried, haven't you? You've tried to shake it off, to pretend it's not there. You've smiled through the pain, laughed in the face of your own emptiness, and convinced the world, and maybe even yourself, that you were fine. But deep down, you weren't. You aren't, and you know it. Let's talk about what it feels like to be stuck, to feel like you're running in circles, expending every ounce of energy just to stay in place. You've felt it, haven't you? That sinking sensation in the pit of your stomach, that voice in the back of your mind whispering, what's the point? You've waited, hoped, prayed, clinging to the idea that maybe, just maybe, someone or something would come along to save you. But salvation never came. And do you know why? Because you were holding the key all along. That's the cruel irony of it, isn't it? The answers you've been searching for, the freedom you've been yearning for, it was always within you. But the lies, the doubts, the fear, they buried it so deep you couldn't see it anymore. Why? And now, here you are, standing in the rubble of missed opportunities and shattered dreams, wondering if it's even worth trying anymore. Let's pause here. Let's sit with this moment, because it's important. It's important to acknowledge the pain, the exhaustion, the despair. You've earned the right to feel it. You've fought battles no one saw, endured wounds no one understood. And it's okay to feel broken. It's okay to feel lost. But what's not okay, what you can't allow, is to believe that this is where your story ends. Think about everything you've lost because of the lies you believed. The friendships you let slip away because you didn't feel worthy. The opportunities you passed on because you didn't think you were enough. the dreams you buried because someone told you they were too big, too unrealistic, too impossible. Every time you chose silence over speaking, doubt over belief, fear over courage, you gave away a piece of yourself. And now those pieces feel scattered, don't they? Like a puzzle you're not sure you have the strength to put back together. You've been walking through life with a hole in your chest, haven't you? A hollow, aching void that no amount of distraction or denial can fill. You've tried though. Oh, you've tried. You've poured yourself into work, relationships, anything to drown out the emptiness. But it's still there, isn't it? Waiting for you in the quiet moments, when the noise fades and you're left alone with your thoughts. And in those moments, it hits you. The regret, the what ifs, the unbearable weight of realizing how much time you've spent stuck in the same patterns, the same cycles, the same pain. You wonder if it's too late, if you've missed your chance, if this is all there is. But let me tell you something about pain. It's a liar. It whispers to you that you're not strong enough, that you're too far gone, that the damage is irreparable. But pain doesn't know you. It doesn't know the battles you've fought, the resilience you've built, the fire that still burns within you, even if it's just an ember right now. I know what you're thinking. What fire? I don't feel strong. I don't feel resilient. I feel tired, and you're right. You're tired, because carrying other people's expectations, their lies, their secrets, it drains you. It empties you out until there's nothing left. And that's exactly where they wanted you to be. Because an empty person doesn't fight back. An empty person doesn't question. An empty person doesn't rise. But here's the thing, you're not empty. You're just buried. Buried under the weight of everything you were never meant to carry. And as much as it hurts, as much as it feels like you can't take another step, you have to keep going. Because the only way out of this despair is through it. There's no shortcut, no escape route, no magic solution. There's just you and the choice you have to make. Will you let this pain define you? Will you let the lies they told, the chains they forged, the wounds they inflicted dictate who you are and what you're capable of? Or will you stand up, even if you're trembling, and begin the hard, messy, beautiful process of reclaiming yourself? It's okay to cry, it's okay to scream, it's okay to feel every ounce of the despair that's been weighing you down, but don't you dare let it consume you. Don't you dare let it convince you that you're powerless, because you're not. You've been hurt, yes, you've been betrayed, abandoned, silenced, but you've also survived, and that survival is proof that you're stronger than you think. So here we are, at the bottom of the pit, the lowest point, where the air feels thin and the darkness feels endless. But do you know what's powerful about being at the bottom? And that never-ending loneliness, that never-ending trap if you let it become one. So here we are, at the bottom of the pit. There's only one direction left to go. You're not alone in this moment. You're not the only one who has felt this depth of despair, this suffocating hopelessness. And that's important to remember, because despair has a way of isolating you, making you believe you're the only one who's ever felt this way. But you're not. And if others can rise from this darkness, so can you. Take a moment, breathe, acknowledge the pain, the loss, the fear, and then remind yourself of this. The key is in your hands. It always has been. Their lies, their secrets, their manipulations, they can't hold you forever. Not if you decide to let them go. Not if you decide to stand in your truth, no matter how broken you feel right now. You've waited, hoped, prayed, but salvation isn't coming from outside. Salvation is taking you in the bowl of a bit more. It's coming from within. It's coming from you. And the moment you realize that is the moment everything changes. What they didn't realize, what they could never have anticipated, is that truth has a life of its own. It's not something you can cage, no matter how hard you try. They buried it deep, didn't they? They wrapped it in layers of lies, sealed it with fear, and hoped you'd never have the courage to unearth it. Until now. But here's the thing about truth. It doesn't die in the dark. It grows, it waits, and with every attempt to suppress it, it becomes stronger, louder, more relentless. The tide is turning now. Can you feel it? That subtle shift in the air, the stirring in your soul that refuses to be ignored. It starts small, like a whisper at the back of your mind. But that whisper grows into a roar, a demand, a battle cry. It's the truth and it's ready to break free. And so are you. This is the moment they feared. The moment when their lies no longer define you. The moment when you stop living for their approval, their comfort, their control. The moment when you finally see that their secrets were never your burden to carry. It was always about keeping you small, keeping you quiet, keeping you compliant. But you were never meant to stay small. You were meant to rise. Let's talk about what it means to rise. Because right now you might feel too broken, too tired, too lost to even imagine standing, let alone rising. But let me remind you of something powerful. Even ashes can become fertile soil. Even shattered glass can catch the light and create something beautiful. You may feel like you've been burned to nothing, like everything you were has been reduced to dust. It was by doing something you inherited, walking, driving, by tower or tree, by wall concluded and built outward. But ashes are not the end. They are the beginning. Picture this, a phoenix, wings singed and battered, lying in a pile of ash. To the untrained eye, it looks defeated, destroyed, but inside a fire still burns. Slowly that fire grows. Feathers regrow, stronger and brighter than before. And when the phoenix rises, it doesn't just survive, it soars. That's you. Right now you're in the ashes, but the fire inside you hasn't gone out. It's waiting for you to breathe life into it again. Or imagine chains, heavy and rusted, wrapped tightly around you. They've been there so long that you've forgotten what it feels like to be free. But then you notice something. Cracks forming in the links. Every time you've questioned, every time you've resisted, every time you've dared to hope, those chains weakened. And now with one final push, they shatter. The weight falls away, and for the first time, you realize just how strong you've become. Those chains didn't just hold you, they built your strength as you fought against them. And now, that strength is yours to wield. And what about your scars? You've hidden them, haven't you? Covered them up, felt ashamed of them, wished they didn't exist? But those scars are proof. Proof that you've been hurt, yes, but also proof that you've healed. They are your armor now, thick and unyielding, a testament to your survival. Each one tells a story of a battle you didn't think you could win, but you did. And now those scars don't make you weak, they make you unstoppable. Now let's be clear about something. The power you're reclaiming was never theirs to begin with. They didn't give it to you, and they can't take it away. It's been yours all along. They just convinced you to forget it. But not anymore. The time for forgetting is over. The time for remembering has begun. You are not their pawn. You are the master of your destiny. Every decision, every step, every choice, it's yours now, not theirs. Not dictated by fear, lies, or the expectations they forced upon you. Yours. And with every choice you make, you reclaim a piece of yourself. With every step forward, you become more of who you were always meant to be. Think about the strength it's taken just to get here. Think about the resilience you've built, the battles you've fought, the courage it's taken to even consider rising. That strength, that resilience, that courage, it's not going anywhere. It's yours to keep, to grow, to use as a foundation for everything that comes next. But here's the truth. Reclaiming your power isn't about being perfect. It's not about having it all figured out or never making mistakes. It's about showing up. It's about standing tall even when your legs are shaking. It's about speaking even when your voice trembles. It's about choosing yourself over and over again, even when it feels impossible. You are not what they told you were. You are not the lies they fed you, the doubts they planted, the fears they used to keep you small. You are fire. You are steel. You are a force they never saw coming, and now it's time to show them, and yourself, what you're capable of. This is your moment. Not theirs, not anyone else's, yours. And it's not just a moment of survival, it's a moment of transformation. A moment where you stop living in the shadow of their lies and start living in the light of your truth. A moment where you take back everything they tried to steal from you. Your voice, your confidence, your power. So take it. Take the fire, the strength, the scars, the truth. Take it all and use it. Use it to rise. Use it to shatter every chain, every lie, every barrier that stands in your way. Use it to build a life that is unapologetically yours. They thought they could break you. They thought they could bury you in the ashes, silence you with the weight of their lies. But what they didn't realize is that you were never theirs to control. You were always more than they could handle. You were always more than they could handle. And now you're proving it. Rise, reclaim, transform. This is your time. This is your truth. And it's unstoppable. It starts with a whisper, a small, trembling thought that maybe, just maybe, you've had enough. Enough of the lies, the manipulation, the chains that have kept you bound for so long. You've carried their secrets like a burden, bent under the weight of them, but now something inside you shifts. A realization, as sharp as a blade and as clear as light breaking through a storm. This is not your weight to carry anymore. When you spoke the truth, when you dared to let it escape your lips, trembling and raw, it was as if the world itself shifted. Their house of cards, so carefully constructed, began to collapse. One by one, the lies they told, the stories they crafted, the illusions they built came crashing down. And do you know what was left standing? You. Not the version of you they tried to shape, but the real you, the one they feared, the one they couldn't control. Their secrets, the ones they used to keep you silent, were their undoing. Because the truth you carried all along, wasn't just your liberation, it was their downfall. They thought they could suppress it, bury it, silence it, but they didn't understand that the truth doesn't disappear. It waits, it grows, and when it finally emerges, it's unstoppable. And in that moment, when the chains broke, when the lies shattered, you felt something you hadn't felt in years. Freedom. Not the fleeting, surface-level freedom they let you believe in, but the kind that runs deep, the kind that takes root in your soul, the kind that reminds you of who you are and what you're capable of. Their power over you wasn't real. It was borrowed, built on the foundation of your silence. And now, with one act of courage, you've taken it all back. But this moment, this awakening, it's not the end, it's the beginning. The truth is out, yes, but now you have a choice to make. Will you stand in it, live in it, embrace it fully, or will you let the remnants of fear pull you back into the shadows? Every step forward is an act of defiance against the lies that tried to hold you back. Every decision to choose yourself, to honor your truth, to rebuild what they tried to destroy, is a revolution in itself. This is not about erasing the pain or pretending the scars don't exist. It's about owning them, wearing them like a badge of honor and saying, "This is me, I survive, and now I thrive." Take that first step. It doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be yours. Maybe it's saying no to something that doesn't serve you. Maybe it's speaking up when you'd normally stay silent. Maybe it's daring to dream again, to imagine a life beyond the confines of their lies. Whatever it is, take it, and then take another, and another. Because every step, no matter how small, is a declaration. I am not who you said I was. Let's pause for a moment. Let's ask the question that matters most. Will you rise, or will you stay buried under their lies? It's a choice, and it's yours to make. No one can make it for you. No one can force you to rise. But here's what you need to remember. The power to choose was always yours. The question is, will you use it? Will you rise, or will you let their shadows define you? Will you rise, or will you stay chained to a past that was never yours to own? Will you rise, or will you let fear win? Every time you rise, you reclaim a piece of yourself. Every time you speak your truth, you silence the voices that tried to suppress you. Every time you step forward, you remind yourself and the world that you are more than their lies, more than their secrets, more than their fear. Because that's what it really comes down to, isn't it? Fear. Their fear of your power, your truth, your ability to rise. They were so terrified of what you could become that they built an entire facade to keep you small. But they underestimated you. They underestimated your strength, your resilience, your fire. And now you have the chance to prove them wrong, not for their sake, but for yours. So I'll ask you again, will you rise? Look at everything you've survived, every wound, every betrayal, every moment of doubt. You're still here. Do you understand what that means? It means you're stronger than you think. It means that no matter how many times you've fallen, you've gotten back up. And if you've done it before, you can do it again. But this time it's different. This time you're not just surviving, you're thriving. You're not just scraping by, hoping for a better tomorrow. You're building it, one step, one truth, one act of courage at a time. And with every act, you become more of who you were always meant to be. They told you that you were nothing, that you were too small, too weak, too broken. But look at you now. You are fire. You are steel. You are the storm they never saw coming. And now, there's no going back. Because once you've tasted freedom, true freedom, you can never go back to the chains. Once you've spoken your truth, you can never go back to silence. Once you've risen, you can never go back to the ashes. So rise. Rise for yourself. Rise for the life you deserve. Rise for the truth that was always yours to speak. Rise, because the world needs your light, your voice, your courage. This is your moment. This is your turning point. And the only question left to ask is, will you take it? Will you rise? Here we are, the moment of truth. Everything we've explored, every realization, every spark of courage, it all leads to this, a choice, your choice. Do you keep living in fear, or do you rise and speak your truth? Do you stay bound by the lies they told you, or do you shatter those chains once and for all? It's not an easy choice. No, it's one of the hardest you'll ever make, but it's also the most important, because this isn't just about your past, it's about your future. It's about the life you've been yearning for, the freedom you've dreamed of, the person you've always been. Beneath the surface. You can stay where you are, you can let the fear win, let their voices drown out your own, let the weight of their secrets keep you shackled. Or you can rise. You can choose to believe in yourself, to trust your truth, to take the first step toward a life that is unapologetically, authentically yours. The question is, what will you choose? This journey isn't about grand gestures or dramatic transformation. It's about small, deliberate steps that lead to something greater. Here's where you begin. Acknowledge your truth. Sit with it. Write it down. Speak it aloud. Let it take shape and form. No more hiding, no more denying. This is your foundation. Reframe your struggles. Look at your pain not as a burden, but as a teacher. Every scar, every wound, every setback, it has shaped you, strengthened you, and prepared you for this moment. They didn't break you, they forged you. Take one bold step. What's the one thing you've been afraid to do? The thing they told you couldn't? Do it. No matter how small it seems, it's a declaration of your freedom. Understand how much we have to give. Understanding doesn't have its boundaries. Discovering your higher self, set boundaries. Stop giving space to the voices that undermine you. Whether it's a person, a belief, or even your own doubts, learn to say no. Protect your energy, your truth, your growth. Find your tribe. Surround yourself with people who see you, who believe in you, who challenge and support you. You're not meant to do this alone. Celebrate every victory. No step forward is too small to celebrate. So yeah, I like that one. Post on Instagram. Know what's going on. Every moment of courage, every truth spoken, every chain broken deserves recognition. Let those victories fuel you. And now, as you stand at this crossroads, I want you to hear this. You were never weak. You were never broken. You were sharpening your truth into a weapon they cannot withstand. Every tear you shed, every moment you doubted yourself, every time you fell and got back up, it wasn't weakness. It was preparation. They wanted you to stay silent, to stay small, to stay hidden. But they forgot that the very things they used to try to break you were the things that made you unbreakable. You are not their victim. You are not their pawn. You are a force of nature, and the world is waiting for you to step into your power. So rise, speak, claim what's yours. The lies they told you no longer define you. The truth does, your truth. And your truth is a fire, a light, a weapon they never saw coming. This is your moment, your turning point, your liberation. And no one, not them, not their secrets, not their lies, can take it from you. You've earned this. You fought for this. You deserve this. Go out into the world and show them who you are, not the version they created, but the real you, the unstoppable, unshakable, undeniable you. This isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning, and it's going to be extraordinary.